Have you ever encountered something unexplainable? A shadow that wasn't yours? A whisper when no one was there? A figure standing in the corner of your room? Today we dive into terrifying true encounters from real people who have experienced the supernatural right here in Singapore. Lock your doors, dim the lights and get ready, because these stories might just keep you up tonight. Growing up in Singapore, I was always the skeptical one. While my friends swapped horror stories, I laughed it off. Ghosts, spirits, just old tales to scare kids. But that changed the night we explored Old Changi Hospital. It was a dare. My best friend Rachel had always been obsessed with ghost stories, and somehow she convinced me and a couple of others to check out the abandoned hospital after dark. We climbed through a broken fence, our flashlights bouncing off the peeling walls. The air inside was thick with humidity and decay, and there was a strange metallic scent clinging to the corridors, like old blood. I tried to play it cool, cracking jokes about horror movies, but deep down I felt it. Something was wrong with this place. We wandered deeper inside, nervous laughter filling the silence, until we found the wheelchair. It sat in the middle of the hallway, perfectly positioned as if waiting for someone. The moment I saw it, my stomach twisted. Rachel, ever the brave one, nudged me. "Push it." I forced a laugh and reached out, giving it a light shove. It rolled forward on its own, stopping directly in front of an open door labelled Operating Theatre 2. The hairs on my arms stood up. Rachel whispered, "That was weird, right?" We hesitated. Then, despite everything in my body screaming at me to leave, I stepped inside. The room was freezing cold, even though it was the middle of the night in Singapore. The air smelled of rust and something rotting. At the centre of the room sat an old surgical bed, rusted restraints still attached. That's when I heard it. A low, wheezing breath. I stopped breathing. My flashlight flickered. In the far corner, a figure stood, pale, sunken skin, mouth hanging open as if gasping for air. I couldn't move. Then the wheelchair started rolling back, straight at us. Rachel screamed. That broke the spell. We bolted. As I scrambled through the broken fence, something grabbed my ankle. I felt the fingers tighten, ice cold and strong. Rachel and the others yanked me through, and I collapsed onto the ground outside, gasping for air. My ankle burned. I rolled up my jeans and froze. Bruises. Dark purple bruises, shaped like fingers wrapped around my skin. "What the hell is that?" Rachel whispered, her voice barely audible. I shook my head. I didn't know. I didn't want to know. We scrambled away from the hospital, but as we reached the main road, something made me stop. From the second-floor window, I swear I saw movement. A shadowed figure stood just beyond the frame, watching us. Then, slowly, it raised its hand and waved. I grabbed Rachel's arm. "We need to go. Now!" We flagged down a taxi and threw ourselves inside. The uncle barely glanced at us as he pulled away from the curb. "Old Changi Hospital, ah?" he muttered. "So many kids like you like to play there." I swallowed hard, my pulse still racing. "Uncle, have you ever seen anything there?" He was silent for a moment, then chuckled, but there was no humour in his voice. "Girl, do you know why they closed that place?" he asked, eyes fixed on the road. During the war, the Japanese used it as a torture chamber. Prisoners, soldiers, even doctors. Not all of them left. The hairs on my arms stood up. My friends sat in stunned silence. "That operating theatre you went into," the uncle continued, his voice dropping lower. "That was where they experimented on people. Cut them open. Did things even I don't want to know. The ones who died." He shook his head. Some of them still waiting for the doctor to finish the job. A chill ran down my spine. I didn't say another word for the rest of the ride. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, the pale figure in the corner, chest rising and falling in ragged gasps, waiting for something. A few days later, I woke up to a sharp pain in my chest. I lifted my shirt and froze. There were deep purple bruises in the shape of handprints, right over my ribs, as if someone had been pressing down. I never stepped foot in Old Changi Hospital again, but sometimes when I'm alone at night, I still hear it, a low, wheezing breath. Have you ever encountered something like this? Let me know in the comments, and if you dare, share your own ghost story. If you enjoyed this chilling tale and want to hear more real Singapore hauntings, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a scare. And remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones closest to home.